Philippians 3 and 8.
All
Yea,
praise to the Most High. We
doubtless,
bring the
without a
Sabbath
doubt.
in,
And I count all things but loss for the
overlooking the
excellency of
pyramids,
the knowledge of
Giza,
Christ Yahshua my Lord,
cast
for
my
whom I have
lineaments.
suffered the
Check the
loss of
sun.
all things,
The sun is
and do
setting
count them but dung,
in the east.
that I may win Christ.
Wow. All praise to the Most High.
Yeah.
I know how it feel to be well respected.
Been there, done that.
I know how it feel to finally get who you dream of.
Being love, yeah, being love.
I know how it feel to have so much money.
You be glad you didn't choose that over this.
I thought that on the way before I ever lived this up, yeah.
We let them have that.
And I just want you to know. I just want you to know.
Yeah.
And I just want you to know what this is.
This is better.
And I just want you to know. I just want you to know.
This right here, this right
And
here.
I just want you to witness some of this.
Yeah, come on, come on.
I know how it feels to explode with anger.
Yeah, you finally fly off the end.
Yeah, when your enemy realize he's got that one.
When you get the flash in them.
I know how it feels to unleash that pressure.
You won't even build that up no more.
But when you got this, you never even build that up. No, no. And I just want you to know.
Yeah.
I just want you to know. And I just want you to know what this is.
That ain't got nothing to do.
And I just want you to know. I just want you to
You gotta
know.
see this for yourself.
And I just want you to witness some of this
You
here.
gotta feel this with your own soul.
I promise I don't think I'm no better than you.
Three. All right, we live. Welcome back to T.H.I.E.F. T.H.I.E.F stands for travel, health, investing, exercise, and a freedom lifestyle. And today, we're going to be hitting on that freedom lifestyle with my man Nikolai. I've been knowing Nikolai for quite some time. Nikolai, I gotta give credit to actually, we're going to be talking about day trading. And this brother right here is my mentor. And he showed me a whole, he taught me a whole nother lease on life. It was pretty much a rebirth for me, what I was going through with a midlife crisis. So, Nikolai, have at it. Tell the people who you are.
Well, first, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm a full-time futures trader. I've been doing that for, well, various degrees of success, but it's pretty much since 2008 I'm trading futures. I started with options, but right before the 2008-9 crisis, I blew up pretty quickly, lost a lot of money, lost pretty much all the discretionary capital that I had. And then I did learn, however, that there's very many ways to spectacularly fail in trading, and there's only a few good ways to succeed, probably. And the path definitely led through getting some good mentoring. I decided to move to futures because the learning curve seemed to be shorter. I didn't have to hold positions for extended periods of time. And that's how I gradually narrowed myself more towards intraday trading and I guess some intraday swing trading, but I rarely hold positions longer than 48 hours. At least for the majority of my career, I did not. The last couple of years, maybe I'm experimenting with larger moves, building up some positions, leaving runners as far as management's concerned. But I got some good mentoring about 10 plus years ago is when I found a good mentor, stuck with him for a few years. And other than hearing all the stories of this old timer, he obviously hammered home the most important, aspects of trading, which is risk management, building up the system, a system that you're actually on board with and that you don't really doubt or second guess yourself with. Make it your own. You have to make it your own. I mean, I've learned from a few people throughout my journey, but at the end of the day, your trading has to be as well matched to your temperament as possible. Somewhere along the way, I found a company, I found a guy who was relatively early in the trading education game. And I guess he maybe a little bit of luck, but he recognized my early success, let me give a few classes on his platform, pretty much sharing my perspective of how I intraday trade it was the index, the ES market. That's the Standard & Poor's 500 futures. And there was a pretty good feedback. So eventually he pulled me on board to revamp and redo his entire system, do the educational aspect. He was more focused on the marketing and the business aspect. And that was a nice journey. It was a great ride for about 9 years, I believe.
And that was with the that's where I found you, the Day Trading Academy.
Correct.
If I'm not mistaken, I think the Day Trading Academy, I think Marcello, I may be wrong. I think it's ended. I think he's moved on. Or
well, I'm not certain. I think he's winding down the operation, but I think there's still a decent sized operation going on in South America, or in general in the Spanish speaking audience. I don't know much about it, but I do have a few traders that I keep in touch with, but we just talk charts, not that much, you know.
I understand. Now you would say you're one of the founding fathers of the Day Trade Academy, right?
I guess I was more of an engine behind the operation than a face to it. I never really liked the cameras and the marketing aspect much, but I really enjoyed the working with traders, building up the system, optimizing it, helping, you know, stubborn old goats like you beat some of the bad habits of their mentality. And I gotta say that, and I still have a trading operation, not a trading, but a coaching operation. So an engagement. I work one-on-one with professionals. I even have a regular classes. I have a service, but that's a relatively.
We're gonna get to that. I was back. You said you started in 2008, so you've been at this for quite some time.
Yes, I really never saw any success until about mid 2012. So it took me a few years, you know, to get the mentoring and.
Hold on a minute. A few years. How about months? I'm seeing, you know, what's online, you know, social media, you know, join my course, 3 months, you'll be driving a Lamborghini.
You're not gonna hear that stuff from me, Travis. I've never. I learned I might have subscribed to some of the, you know, there's an easy way to make money in the markets mentality, but that really got beat out of me on my first run around with the options trading, where I just failed dramatically. There was no way to sugarcoat it. I blew through north of $80,000 within 18 months at various speeds. Yes, first fast, then slow, then, you know, recharging accounts. And there were maybe a few good trades along the way, but for the most part, I had neither a good system nor a good grasp as to what exactly are the skills I need to develop in order to trade consistently. And I've never dared, you know, to say that trading is going to be easy for somebody. Or I guess there are a few talented people, maybe one in every 10,000, that has developed the skills necessary to be successful with this game doing something else. But for the most part, I do not believe that it is realistic to become a successful speculator out of the gate, or for that matter, within a few months. It's good old-fashioned hard work. It's a skill set, a pretty unique one, and quite a counterintuitive skill set to develop. And it takes, I believe, the shortest way to get there for the few that have the capacity is lots of hard work, good mentoring or good mentorship. If you find the right person that resonates or can work with your baseline temperament and qualities, and just a lot of repetition and incremental improvement. That's that's the reality of trading, or at least that has been my reality, the reality of most of my students. I have come only across one or two traders that I could, and I have worked with probably close to 1,000. And I've come only across one or two that possess that rare thing that you dare call talent. It's like very few and far in between.
This is a skill like no other. I mean, you can learn this in school. It's a combination of discipline, experience, and psychological, emotional control. I mean, man, it's a beast to learn. I mean, but you know what? I love it, bro. Actually, for me, learning the markets, it brought out the best because I saw you when I first met you. You know, you was a physical specimen, and yeah, I said, I gotta get disciplined like this guy. And I had a dad bod when I first started trading. I was an emotional mess, so I was going through a divorce, and man, I lost my job, man. I was a hot mess. But I would say day trading was kind of gave me a new lease on life. You know, man. I mean, and I'm forever grateful to for the Day Trade Academy. I mean, Marcello hooked me. Shout out to Marcello. Marcello hooked me with it. He's a master promotional guy. I saw him
that he's good at that much.
Oh man, and I tried those stunts about being on the beach with a laptop. Man, that don't work for me. I can't do it. So
I've never done that. We've done quite a bit of traveling and trading, but the routine is always the same, regardless of how exotic a place you're visiting. In the morning, you sit down, you're focused,
exactly.
Do your trading routine, and then whether it's going to be a half-hour session or a full 7-hour session, you sit down and you get it's much closer to getting in the zone type of experience rather than it's not a like that.
Yeah, the external doesn't even you block that out. If you want to have a good day or be successful, you got to block all that out. So
you really have to be able to do deep work or at least to get into a 100% focused state for a certain amount of time. Trading it appears to be relatively easy. I mean, you buy or sell, it goes up or down. I mean, without knowing anything, there's a 50% chance to be correct. But when you add up the emotional management, when you add up the timing and the scale on which you make the bets, when you add up the necessity of consistently discovering and managing opportunities with a certain risk-reward perspective, it is very hard to stumble on if you're not very focused, it's very hard to stumble on a consistent sequence of profitable trades. And that reality, unfortunately, remains obscured for the majority of aspiring market operators, let's call them, in the beginning, and therefore, as you well know, the failure rate in trading is dramatically skewed towards like an outright route within anywhere between, I don't know, a few sessions to a year. There's very few traders who manage to consistently play that game and still have trading capital within a year, especially when it comes to intraday trading.
So you say it took you 4 years of losing money to finally, boom.
Well, I guess I first saw trading charts back in 2006. I had some money saved. They were in some funds, but I really had no control over that. I was maybe swapping between currencies, because that was all that was available to me back in Eastern Europe. And then, eventually when I came to the US, and that was after I got out of college and had a business degree, and that didn't help me but to sparkle my interest for the markets. And I knew I wanted to pursue that. I was interested in psychology and performance, and I've been into lifting weights virtually all my life. So I was kind of getting my interest was already well developed. And unfortunately, and again, a little bit of bad luck, bad timing. Like as an amateur, you don't want to get into the markets 2007, 2008. That's just a very difficult and different situation to be into. But also, I'm taking full responsibility. I was not prepared. I didn't really know what I have to learn. And the market taught me a lot of very expensive lessons. And then once I lost a lot of money, I really moved my focus as to what are the mechanics of what I'm trying to do. What is not just the vision of, all right, becoming a trader, being able to, be self-employed and have the financial and geographic flexibility of working from anywhere without being dependent on a company or a boss or even your own business, a product, marketing, none of that. You need a laptop, whatever's between your ears and a good amount of focus and discipline. And that's it. It was obviously a great proposition, and it's naturally also very scalable. Once you are good at it, provided that you are smart about climbing the ladder of leverage, you can also eventually scale that significantly. So you could be making significant bank, but getting there and handling the journey is proved to be very difficult. So I recognize that this is not going to be something I will be able to from 0 to 100 teach myself. So the path was going through good education, and like you mentioned earlier, there's no way to learn that in school. So I had to find somebody who is really good at that, and I wanted to look over their shoulder or be consistently steered towards kind of do more of this, do less of that. And I found such a person, far from ideal. You never really find the ideal mentor, but I found a great one. And he was a grumpy old man, but I resonated with his approach. I have a background in science, and the guy was, his approach was based on understanding price action as energy, as energy flowing, and some of the principles he was using were of geometry and Newtonian physics, and that resonated with me.
Wow.
For the most part, they were metaphors, but they helped me. They resonated with me, so they helped me take his axioms and obviously a few years of experience, and then make it my own, and eventually, build also a system for the Day Trading Academy. And most importantly, manage to gain that coveted consistency when with your own operations.
Yeah, I ran across a lot of people when I learn on YouTube, and I tell people, spend the money, find you a mentor that you get along with, that you fit the system, and just be teachable. Don't just go on somebody's wing. You cannot. I mean, you probably could teach yourself, but it might take you 20 years, right?
Yes, and if you compare the two ways to do it, whether you're going to teach yourself and let the market, get paid for the lessons that you're going to get, or it's just much more efficient to have somebody give you a baseline understanding of risk, how you should be approaching taking risk, help you understand what you are good at as a trader, recognize what are your strengths and weaknesses, both technically as because as a technical trader, you observe price action in real time on a chart. So you should learn to understand the technical picture, but you should also learn to recognize what are the elements of your trading process, of your decision-taking process that you should take care of. Temperaments are different. People's baseline ability to recognize patterns, to be patient, to be disciplined, to control the emotions when whether you're making a lot of money in a position or you're down 3, 4, 5 positions in a row and you have to take the next trade. These are mental challenges of different nature that you have to learn to face and handle the right way. You need a statistically viable approach to taking risk, and it is the hardest thing to take the right trading decisions when you've been battered by the market, or even occasionally when you're making so much money that it's just blind greed that's controlling your next move. Does that make sense?
Oh man, does it? Perfect sense. Let me ask you. So let's talk about your lifestyle as far as do you live a simple life? Let's talk about your regimen for physical fitness. How you keep a solid mind frame. Discuss about that.
I do subscribe, just like I know you do, the physical aspect, taking care of yourself. And for me, that means
How important is that?
that's, I gotta tell you that next to getting good sleep, movement and diet are the second and third most important things. And it really in that sequence: sleep, movement, diet. Right? Sleep is just, there's no way getting around that. I don't know a single person who thrives well on very little sleep for extended periods of time. Movement, for me, what has always worked the best is just heavy weights. I know my cardio sucks, and I've taken steps to remedy that a little bit. I do a little bit of running, but it's never been my forte, and I've always struggled with that. And I don't take to make progress nearly as well as lifting weights. I lifted weights with a coach. I started with a coach actually already quite a few years ago, in my early 30s. I'm in my late 30s now. And even though I've been a gym rat all my life, like when I actually started to...
You're not in your 40s yet? How old are you?
Not yet. I'll be not yet. Yeah, I'm in my late 30s. I'm
You
38.
seem so much older than me, man. You're 38.
Thank you. I'm flattered. Yes, I am.
Wow.
I've already lost most of my hair, as you can tell. But hey, I'm happy. I'm happy about that.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get rid of the damn thing.
When I first met you, you had an afro, man. What happened?
Yeah, so I do respond very well to weightlifting. I started with a coach a few years ago. I'm into powerlifting. Most of my exercises, like 90+% consists of 5 exercises. I squat, bench, deadlift, I lift overhead, and I do pull-ups. And again, a little bit of running here and there. I do some breathing exercises, some cold exposure. These are, I guess, the other supplements.
Cold showers. Yeah.
Cold showers, yeah, cold dips. I love it.
Right.
Help me sleep, helps me recover, and it's
Beautiful,
just,
yeah.
it's just like I just feel better with myself when I do these things. I do subscribe to these things.
You're a high performance machine, right? You got to be a high performance machine.
Yes, you gotta take care of the machine that's gonna be producing all these high performance results, hopefully, you know. And a sound physical foundation is necessary for a consistent series of good decisions, intellectually and many times emotionally as well. I know that I sleep much better. I'm much better at self-regulation, you know, patience, discipline. It also helps with better focus, because if I have slept better, I tend to last longer into the, I believe, mandatory required self-dialogue out loud when you're actually in front of the screen, you know, discussing with yourself and discussing with the chart in front of you. What are you really trying to do on that day with the markets that are in front of you as a speculator? And it's one of the things that I'm a big proponent of. You got to talk to yourself out loud. It's not weird. It doesn't have to be crazy, but I do encourage most of my students to record their sessions and then watch them and then send them to me and see black on white where they fell short their goal of manifesting patience with discipline, or considering the various scenarios before they actually took the position or committed to a certain.
You said record the session, like
Correct.
back.
Correct. Record your screen or screens.
Oh yeah. I got you.
That records all your actions, and also with a mic. You don't have to record your. Although for some traders it does help to also record yourself to see what's your body language, what is your posture.
Yeah.
It says a lot about your mental state. It says a lot about fatigue. But for most traders, it's sufficient to see your screen and hear your verbalized dialogue, your analysis for the market in real time, especially if you're active fast twitch intraday trader. So that, because efficiency with fast twitch intraday trading, efficiency is the name of the game, which means the ability to take home as much risk-adjusted return as possible, which says you're shooting to take as little risk for the ideas that you recognize as possible, and to capture as much reward based on what the market offered you on the right edge of the chart. And that requires focus, a broad base of experience for recognizing and being able to adapt to various market scenarios. At least that's what it takes for me. I don't do automated trading, and I'm a discretionary intraday trader. I trade a few markets, and I trade relatively short, meaning my average holding time is relatively short. Within the commodity markets, the gold and oil futures that I habitually trade, I'm usually in a trade between 2 hours and 2 days at the most. And for the indices, for the active intraday trading, my average holding time is about, I think right now it's right around 12 minutes. So of course, some positions take 30, 40 minutes, but sometimes while I'm fishing for larger ideas, because I recognize various templates of market flow, I will participate pivot to pivot many places. Some people like to call that scalping, whatever. I don't care about labels. Trading's trading. It has risk and it has reward. Keep them in the right ratio. And if you know what you're looking for, if you consistently manage your opportunities, given a sound approach, you should come out on top a significant amount of time, or at least enough so that what you retain from your winners is significantly larger than what you give back in the market from the ones that just didn't work out.
Got you. That, hey, you said a mouthful right there. Let me ask you, what's your take on the whole? When I tell people I day trade, they always say Forex. I'm like, no, trade futures. They like, huh? What's your take?
I try not to be too harsh on. I mean, I trade the futures markets exclusively, but I know that there's many ways to make money in the markets. I do, however, I like to trade mature markets because I'm a good tape reader, and I like for the rules of the game to be very clean. I like deep, liquid, efficient markets so that the observations that I make are relatively reliable. I don't like systemic risk. I don't like the whole game with the spreads and the various quotes, and the forex market is not regulated. It's just not as efficient. And I as a professional like to exercise my skill in an arena where I know what the rules are, and the rules favor a clear game where my skill is my edge, rather than hoping to get lucky or trying to exploit some weird quirk of the setup or something like that. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. So, and therefore I stick to the futures markets. Also, I'll make this observation, especially during the last few years with the way that the Feds have been interfering in the markets for, quite a few decades now, but the last few years, everything you see is obviously getting ramped up so much that there's a significant convergence between various markets. And I observed that especially within the currency pairs, because I do look at some of the major currency pairs on the futures market side, and there's just so much convergence that's really not very practical for a pattern-based speculator. Like, I don't want all these markets to do the same thing just because they are trading in their corridor based on what the dollar is doing. I like a little bit more variety. That's why I like to trade markets that don't really correlate heavily with each other. So my bread and butter is the COMEX gold market, light sweet crude, and the S&P minis, the ES market. These three markets contain the majority of my trades. I'm no stranger to an occasional trade in natural gas, or maybe even one of the ags currency pairs from time to time. But I gotta tell you, I gotta really have everything buttoned down, and I gotta be bored with what I'm looking at and not really see any viable opportunity in order to go and look at something else. These three markets are volatile. They're very deep, very liquid international markets. They trade virtually around the clock between Sunday night and Friday afternoon. So I got plenty there to fill my coffers.
Oh yeah, plenty.
I also know these markets very, very well. I've been trading the ES since 2008. I've been looking at gold and oil since 2010, 2011 when I started mentoring. So I know these markets very well. And I know what I'm looking at, and I know when it's time to trade, which again, to close that loop, that's not a 3-month journey. That's a year to 2 years if you have already developed some of the skills somewhere else and you just need, screen time to build up that library of recognizing price action. But if you haven't built up these skills, and if you have some significant gaps in the mentality that you need to trade, it might take you as many as 3, 4, 5 years to learn how to successfully speculate. And while it could take you a few years to learn how to trade, it might take you a lifetime to learn when not to trade. That's one of the most common pitfalls I find in, just people either get bored or they get in trouble. Like in the markets, there's no brownie points for beating a tough market. It's a business. Like you dare to skim the top to make money. So you don't have to beat a tough market, but you have to be smart enough to know when the odds are not in your favor, or even worse, you don't know what the odds are, or you don't understand what you're looking at. So trying to move to the next step and actually overlay a reward versus risk proposition on top of a market that you don't even understand in terms of flow, in terms of the scale or the amount of noise and volatility that it offers, or where the positions are. It's very difficult to learn when not to trade it. It seems like there's some fundamental weakness in most aspiring traders' mindset that makes them wanna be in the market too often or too much. Like, I mean, I understand that there's no way to make money in the market if you're actually not in a position, but at the same time, as a zero-sum game, if you play a lot of situations or positions that you don't have a good edge in, then you're digging a hole, and then you got to fill that hole in order to get ahead. So you have to learn to stay out when the odds don't favor you, or when you don't understand the market, or maybe when you have a certain idea of what might happen, but you have not considered the alternatives, and you don't really know who's where on the field and how the situation might develop if you are wrong. Because one thing is certain as a speculator, you will be wrong regularly. That doesn't mean all the time, and sometimes you will be wrong more often than not. But you can do very well in the markets even if you have a less than 50% success rate. For that matter, most of the good traders that I know, they do not consistently bat above 50%. Most of the
50%, you're killing it, man. I mean, 35%, you're killing it. 50%, exactly. Oh my God.
Most of the consistent professionals that I know who successfully operate the markets, they bat somewhere between 30 and 45%. And the higher you go in that relatively narrow range, like you exponentially start to do much, much better. Like as you're getting into the 40s, you're usually crushing the market.
Yes, recently, man, I've been, trading for me, man, it's been highs and lows, and I'm currently suffering lows right now. I've been battling with the motivation to make money is so powerful. Sometimes I can trade without it, with that on my mind, but lately, man, it's like that's a powerful emotion, like to put the money to the side, just trade what you see, trade price action, trade your setups. How would you recommend for anybody a beginner trader or wanting to get into trading, the psychological power of money, that money's impact on your mind? How do you get out of that?
It's no easy task. I think of that phenomenon that you described. I think of it as it's the calculator effect. Like you constantly have that. Oh man, if I'm correct here, I'm gonna make so much money, buy so many contracts or lots or whatever it is. That's a good amount of dough. And it's well, all right. I have this. I'm a big proponent of mechanical habits that are supposed to take you out of these vicious cycles or loops that are self-defeating mechanisms for trading. And if you struggle with constantly calculating profit rather than focusing on what you actually control, which is how much risk you take and when you participate, I believe there's a fundamental belief that's lacking, and that's why you are not manifesting the right actions, and therefore you don't have the right habits. I think the fundamental belief is that you will your results by your desire to be profitable. That's actually, that's unfortunately a common trope of the self-help movement, where they stay you to stay positive and to grind, and that unfortunately is a mentality that does not work with trading. While it's important to show up and do the work, just wanting to be successful or working hard at the trading itself does not make you successful. For that matter, it creates that trap where you tend to take the risk again and again and again, even though it's not a good time to trade or not a good place to trade. So I encourage my traders to always, before they pull the trigger, consider what is the scenario in which they're wrong. If the market gets to your stop, which you should always be using a limited amount of risk, which means to have a stop in the market the moment you're committed to an idea, then you have to consider if the market gets there, then what else is going on that I haven't accounted for, I didn't think is more likely to happen. And you have to always, before you participate, think about that alternative scenario. If you will, flip the idea on its head. What if I'm wrong? What if it goes there? What does that mean? And then ultimately, before you pull the trigger, consider, now that I have looked at other potential scenarios, this is the so very important probabilistic thinking or scenario building. Then you have to really evaluate and consider, is that still a good opportunity? Does it have an edge? Is it something that I recognize? Is it part of my book? Is it something that I know how to handle? And ultimately, is it worth the risk? Should I be pulling the trigger? So yes, always consider the alternatives, learn to think probabilistically, think in scenarios. So consider other ways in which an idea could develop, and of course, in the direction in which you do not favor.
Let's talk about, once you master this thing and become proficient, become a sniper, let's talk about the freedom aspect of day trading, what it brings to your life.
Well, for me, it has been, you asked me that a little earlier, and I don't think I ever answered. I'm a creature of routine. I live a relatively.
You said, I was going to say, I speaking from a lot of people that's actually, this is successful. They live a simple life. Simplicity.
Yes, I live a simple life. I grew up with very modest means. I came with, $200 in my pocket at the age of 20 from Eastern Europe, and all I had is like the clothes on my back, again, $200, and I was a student back then in school. I had to pay student loans and whatnot. So just pretty basket story. And I really, the freedom that trading has allowed me is to employ my time in to pursue other productive endeavors, and my physical state, I like to read. I have a lot of interests. I read a lot. I consume a lot of also digital content, but mostly educational and constructive stuff.
Me too.
I like to read books. I listen to podcasts. I love to spend time with my girl, and that's very important for me, because just like you, I've seen I've learned a lot in my life about relationships, and I've been married, I've divorced, had a tough time. I've been through the whole loop, struggling, with relationships, with money, and that has made me appreciate the simpler things in life. I have a very I subscribe to stoicism and to a more Spartan like lifestyle or ethic, if you will. I love to wake up in the morning, and jump in a cold shower before I do anything else. Or if I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't seem to fall asleep, I just get out of bed and put my shoes on, and I go and run a couple of miles, in the dark, and that just makes me feel good. And it's.
I don't think I never done that before. I get up in the middle of the night and run. That's a new one on me, bro.
Well, I used to struggle, I guess, since you mentioned the midlife crisis some time ago. I guess I might have hit an early case of that some time back, and that was one of the ways in which I really like my man David Goggins with the way he approaches I really like his zero bullshit attitude with these things. So and he likes to say that whenever you hear that voice that makes you sound like a victim and like a pussy in your brain, you gotta go out there and just do something that reminds you of who you are and what you're here to do, and you have to do your best. And there's no time in life. It's just too short for self-pity or and there's just so much to do, Travis. Like this, I don't think that there would be 10 lifetimes that would be enough for me to entertain all my interests. And I've never been much for luxury. I've done a fair amount of traveling, but I don't care about very expensive cars. And
would you consider yourself I can't even say a minimalist?
Yeah, I guess to a certain extent, but a minimalist more in the not that much for things, although I don't really go for creature comforts that much, but in terms of being very efficient with my time, with my occupations, I know that in order to, you have to choose what you commit to. You have to pick certain things that you will be committed to, and that goes for values, for habits. And then once you pick these and you're really on board with them and they resonate with your value system, you got to commit to them. So I'm minimalist in terms not that much of things, but as a lifestyle. Like I know what I like, I know what's important for me and for my development, and I try to invest my time and energy in these things that I like to do.
Right.
I've done quite a bit of traveling, but one of the things that's lauded as one of the greatest perks of the trading lifestyle is just all the traveling. And I gotta tell you, I'm not that much of a in my experience, traveling was a lot of I don't like being a tourist, man. Like I don't like airplanes, hotels, and taxis. And I know that's necessary to a certain extent. And of course, in the beginning, when you're hungry to see the world, you go and you do that because you don't know any better. But one of my most favorite way to travel is to have a bit of a network of people that I've met, through the years of coaching, and I love to just go and visit somebody in their neck of the woods, and they show me around, and this way I don't feel like a tourist. I don't get I don't get to see the places that everybody goes to see there, but instead I have the guy who lives there who takes me to a unique place to get some great food, or we sit down, enjoy a great bottle of wine, or a very high quality conversation. And that's really what I cherish much more than that.
I'll catch you in Bulgaria when you
that'll make me. I'll be there. I'll be there sometime, probably in the spring or summer next year. So that nothing could make me happier than that, man. To show you. Well, I grew up in Bulgaria, spent there the first 20 years of my life, but I'm almost 40, and the second 20 I spent here. So I guess I'm as American. I'm as American as a first generation immigrant could become already. So
don't give me that nonsense. You're getting old, man. Nah, stop that. Oh, nah.
No, I don't really feel old at all, man. Like I'm in very good shape. I can bend over and pick up 500 pounds from the ground.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm in good physical shape. I feel like I'm still very sharp, and I keep learning. I have a passion for languages, for example. Right now,
Me too.
Right now, I'm studying Swedish. I'm fascinated by that country. It came really to my attention with the.
What happened to Portuguese?
Portuguese, I studied on and off for a few years, starting a decade ago. But and it really was because, just like you, I was fascinated with Brazil.
Oh man!
Before we started. Well, I'm not sure that I would move to Portugal, but I'm fascinated with Sweden come to my, and in general Scandinavia came to my attention with COVID and the way that they handled the whole thing. And since I'm there you go, that's it. I'm interested in going and living in Scandinavia. Very many years ago when I first started to do trading, my vision board included me and my wife and my family, my kids, and just going and living at various locations around the world for a few years. So you can really learn
Yeah.
the culture and the language. And so I imagined maybe living for a few years in New Zealand, and then moving for a few years in Japan, and then moving for a few years in Scandinavia, and then, you know, maybe Brazil, and then,
Yeah.
you know, maybe Western Europe, Switzerland, or Southern Spain, or something like that. And you know, right now I intend within maybe the next year or two to move to Sweden. I don't know whether it's going to be northern or southern Sweden. It's probably going to be southern Sweden. I'm not that.
What you think the time frame to trade on is probably the best in the world, probably be
Yes, Europe in general, you know,
Yeah.
whether it's Eastern or Western Europe, it's a matter of
probably the worst
time
would probably be
difference.
Southeast Asia, probably the worst, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I regularly trade from Eastern Europe. It's when I'm in Eastern Europe, that's
No, you do
it
trade.
opens.
You
Regular
do.
session starts at 4:30 p.m., which is great because you can still enjoy most of your day, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
you sit down. It's about exactly, you know, it's 7 hours difference. So when you break for lunch here in the US, you actually break for dinner, and then you can still finish up. If you want to trade the afternoon session, you can still do that and still go to bed at a reasonable time. So indeed, it just pretty much shifts your trading from the early morning to the late afternoon, so you can still achieve a lot with your day. You can travel, or you can be with relatives, and then you can sit down, do your trading, still go to bed, and you know, take care of the sleep, which again is very important. So yeah, I like the idea of Scandinavia, and I'm looking to buy a property, maybe a small farm somewhere there.
I was in your first group. Well, was that the first swing trade? The swing trading concepts?
Tapereading concept.
Was I in the first group, the test pilot group, whatever?
Yes, I believe you joined me in, when was that? 2000
right before the scandemic, 2019.
Yeah,
It was
I think it was 2019.
2019.
Yeah, we started before COVID, and yeah, I still have it was great. I really enjoyed. That was the largest group that I have, like the largest cohort that I worked with this first year, 2019, 2020. I believe it was almost 30 of you. I believe, yeah, it was between 25 and 30. And, you know, that gradually, you know, weed itself down to usually half or less, because like when people get into weeds and realize how much,
no, man,
it's how much you know, nuance and detail there actually is into learning to read a tape and understand various markets and have a scenario-based approach and a statistically sound way to handle risk. Yeah, a lot of people, just people have the tendency to want to find easy, and in my experience with trading, I'm no fan of complicating things, but there's only so far that easy will take you. You need to understand some nuances, and of course there's these cycles of refining. You know, once you learn something, you refine it, and then maybe you simplify a little bit, and then you go back again, and you constantly layer understanding. You know, it's layer over layer of understanding, and it seeks in, and gradually over time you emerge with these trading principles and simple truths that you need in order to be successful. There's certain inalienable truths about trading that I don't think like you need to be focused. You need to be able to say no to a lot of things. In other words, you need to be patient and disciplined. You need to always attend to your risk, because as a trader, that's what you control. You control when you get involved, at what price you get involved, and the amount of risk you're willing to take. You don't really control the outcome. In other words, you're either right or you're not. To a certain extent, it is a game of chance, but if you're smart about when you approach the table to play and how you frame the risk, you have a lot of control over the outcome. So you get to you get to pick your spots, control the risk, and then over time, if you do that, you will emerge into profitability. You know, in the balance between what you make and what you give back to the markets, you should emerge into profitability. If you build up the right habits, if you're consistent, there will be losses. That's fine. There will be also, hopefully, lots of profits, and there's no risk without reward.
Boom. You know,
It's
it's a
the other way
good
around, actually. There's no reward without risk.
it's a good time to learn how to trade because you know when I started there was no micro account. So you know when I say micro, the scale level with the S&P 500, every time it moves is $12.50.
Correct. The
Yeah.
cheaper ways to leverage yourself into the market
Yes.
are just a few years old. So back when I was
Yes.
learning to trade, like a reasonable amount of risk. So a position cost you a few $100s. So you got to be damn sure you want to take that position, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because otherwise you strike out and you burn through your capital very quickly, and that only further emphasize how important it is to get quality education, so that you know that when you actually come to the table with your hard-earned money, you have a chance to be making rather than funding somebody else's trading endeavor.
You know, in 2022, you know, I'm pretty sure when you started, there wasn't like now. There's oh my God, the competition amongst prop firms to fund traders. So if you know how to play the game with these prop firms, you can get funded. I've crashed and burned with these prop firms. I've threw in the towel, but I may I may go back in with them. But some of the prop firm companies, you know, have reasonable expectations. Some of them are damn near impossible to get funded. You know.
Yes, I think that I don't think that they're exactly prop for like that kind of gives the real impression. I was saying that, but that, you know, putting labels aside, yeah, these funding setups, many of them, they're just mills, you know. They're really making money out of the statistics in trading, which are vastly skewed towards the traders who fail. And so they're pretty much like intermediaries to the casino. They're just there to give you a chance to fail. There's no real education. And like you observed, the rules are designed so that you fail. You know, the trailing stops, the unrealistic sequence of profitable trades that you have to manifest in order to reach the target before you move through the trailing drawdown. That's just but you know what, if you don't do your due diligence, and if you don't sit down and do the math and realize that it's very unlikely you will be on the profitable side of that game, given enough opportunities. I mean, sure, anybody can hit a move and be correct, and hopefully you're correct from the first trade that you take on these setups, but that's very rarely the case. And even if you happen to qualify for one of these funded accounts, which many of my traders have, I usually advise my traders to go for these only when their numbers clearly show them that they're likely to beat the rules that they're trying to enforce.
Exactly.
And most of the time, the numbers are not realistic, whether because the trader could improve further, or whether because the rules are too unrealistic to beat. These tiny trailing drawdowns, especially based on theoretical paper profitability. Let's say you had a trade where you were shooting for 5 times your initial risk, and it was a good opportunity, and maybe you got very close to the target and you had a trailing stop, but maybe you gave back like a handle and a half, and they automatically bump your trailing stop based on the maximal theoretical profitability you had. That's cruel, man. Like that's not realistic. That's not what trading is. It's just sometimes you will hit 2, 3, 4 trades in a row that don't work out, but that doesn't mean you made a mistake. They might have been perfectly legitimate good trades. So but anyway, that's just how things are out there. Most people don't do their due diligence, so they commit to unrealistic setups. I think that organic growth of a small account is probably the best, least stressful way to go, especially since nowadays, man, you can literally be risking, I don't know what, like $20 per trade. That's I mean, if you don't have a few $100 to commit to, testing how good you are into a real skin in the game environment, then you should probably go and provide some value out there in the world and save some more, and then get back to educating yourself and practicing, and then try at a later time.
Where can people find you? I mean, I know where to find you, but I'm gonna tag your link in the description so people see this video.
I appreciate that. I don't actively the tape-reading concepts is what my outfit is called. It's a close community. It's if you're willing to say, boutique educational service. I don't actively advertise. That being
Oh, you
said,
don't. You don't do that. You don't. Yeah. You don't.
no, I don't, because I said that many times, and I guess people don't believe as much as you said, but the real money in trading is not in the teaching, it's in the trading itself.
Yeah.
It's just that there's so many educators out there because they're either shit traders or because they just want risk-free profits. They're promising pipe dreams to people. They sell them the sizzle. There's no stake behind it, and they just take people's money and just let them fend for themselves. And I have no time for, like, I spent years and tens of thousands of dollars to educate myself and to be as good as I am. So that's why I don't have time to bullshit people. And I love coaching, and I did it for many years, and I still do it, but only with serious traders, only with people who are really committed to do the work. I don't do much of it, but I love doing it. And I have a small promotional YouTube channel. You could probably link that for people to
I'll link you
as well. And if somebody's really interested in learning how to trade, and they're willing to commit their time and their efforts, then they should drop me a note. I usually leave my email, but hey, I am not even against giving people my phone number, but I gotta tell you, I don't spend a lot of time, like, I don't look at my phone much throughout the day because I'm trading, and it's not that easy to catch on the phone, man. And
phone will get you in trouble. Phone will distract you.
Yeah, I'm not into distractions. I'm not big on social media. I do the occasional video for the YouTube channel, but that's like maybe once a month, maybe not even as often, because I'm trading, and I love trading, and I don't care if people want to spend their money with me or not. Or, I mean, I charge for my time, and trading education is expensive, but that's not my main income. I'm a trader, and I live and die with, by what I kill. It's like hunting. So, So I gotta be out there hunting, man. And I'm taking these poor souls' money. So
I love it, man. We'll be going for an hour. It's dinner time. Oh man, what a pleasure.
Always. Thank you for having me, Travis.
And like I said, I've been getting slaughtered. I remember I told you I was gonna cut. Matter of fact, I'm gonna end it. We'll talk offline. I'm gonna end it. I'm gonna stop the recording.